Today, on Be Something Wonderful, debunking everything, the truth about objective reality. I am your host, Tom Kieran, and this is the Be Something Wonderful studio of higher consciousness, where we help you level up and become the best version of yourself. Creators, welcome back. Today, we're really going to go down the rabbit hole. I've got a big one for you today. We're just going to debunk everything and really go at this idea of objective reality and the idea of an illusion. But all of this started really with some comments that I exchanged with one of you on the channel that responded to last night's video. And you said you saw a video where they said 3D is an illusion, that we're not meant to see through the illusion, that we're here to learn lessons, and we're here to suffer. We chose to suffer. This is what you said, right? And that it's only that we forgot, right? That we chose that. Well, guys, I really want to unpack this. I don't want to unpack all of those comments today because you can go to the channel, look to the comments for last night's video and see where I responded in detail. And we went back a couple times. And I really responded to this idea about this thing about choosing suffering and so forth. And so I don't want to unpack that here. What I do want to unpack today is this idea of an illusion, right? And I've used that term as well, that the 3D world is an illusion. Remember what the meaning of illusion means. It means that you're perceiving something incorrectly about an apparent objective reality. That with your senses, that you're subjectively perceiving something that's not a true or correct perception. That's what an illusion means. So really, when you get at that, it's really not that the 3D world is so much an illusion as it is that it is a perception. Hear this. This is big. We got a big one today, right? Because remember, this subscriber is coming from a 3D linear perspective. It's a belief in linear time and a belief in an objective reality that's outside of ourselves, something that is outside of your consciousness, something that's outside of your perception, and there is none. So the idea that 3D is an illusion assumes that there's some objective reality. I'm not talking about ultimate reality, which is consciousness, but the idea that there's some objective reality. So really, let's unpack this. So it's really, you only ever experience your own consciousness, but more important than that is that you only experience what you perceive. There really is no out there. There is no objective 3D world. There's not even a space separate from your perception, right? Time and space is all an illusion. An illusion in the idea that it's really just a perception, right? Because again, that means that illusion implies that you're perceiving something incorrectly, but perceptions are not correct or incorrect or good or bad, they're just perceptions. Hear this, right? Because it's just pure positive energy, pure consciousness. You can form that like Play-Doh into anything you want. There's nothing to be perceived wrong. There's just you as an individualized aspect of God experiencing a portion of all that is. That's why God split into this infinite number of souls to experience what it's like to be all that is. You can't experience what it's like to be all that is unless you're something that's not, right? So that's why God came. So I really want to get at this. It's not so much that 3D is an illusion, implying that we're perceiving wrong. It's just that it's all a perception of our consciousness, and that none of it is objective or real reality. Let's really hit this today. The universe, the 3D world, and everything else doesn't exist outside of your experience of it. So it's not so much that it's an illusion, it's just an experience of something through your consciousness, something that you're perceiving. You make it up when you stream it. Right? So an illusion always is being compared to some objective reality that exists and that you're somehow seeing reality wrong. That's not it. You're just perceiving it the way you want to perceive it, the way God wants you to perceive it. Well, God wanted to experience everything, right? And the judgments of good and bad and pain and suffering are all just judgments, right? You get to choose, right? An experience cannot exist independent of the experiencing. Hear this. So this means 3D reality can't exist separate from you. The universe can't exist separately from you because you're experiencing it. So it comes through you. Hear this. It's just, for an example, let's take some subjective things like pleasure or pain. Pleasure and pain, I've mentioned this in a previous video, can never exist out there. They don't exist as something separate from you. Hear this, right? They don't have a life of their own. Pleasure and pain, or suffering, as this subscriber said, are only pleasure and pain to the extent they are experienced. Hear this, right? Pleasure or joy or anything, happiness, none of that exists independently of you. They don't exist independent of the experience of them. Wow! And that's not only true with pleasure and pain and joy and sadness and frustration. It's true with everything in 3D reality. Nothing exists separate or independent of the experience of it. Wow! So we're debunking everything today. We're even debunking illusions. Otherwise, they're not pleasure and pain. How can they exist outside of the experience of pleasure and pain? They wouldn't be pleasure and pain. Pleasure and pain is the experience. Hear this. And this is not only true with abstract concepts like pleasure and pain. So you have the 3D scene world, right? That we sometimes think is objective reality. We treat it like that. We want to manifest something into it, right? We treat these things that happen to us like they're separate from us. Right? We're treating it like an objective reality, right? And we split it into two things. We split it into the seen world and the unseen world of ultimate reality and metaphysical world. But really, what's going on? There's actually a subjective reality. 3D reality is a subjective reality. It's seen, but it's not seeing as we're seeing something outside of us. We're perceiving it. That red, round, juicy apple doesn't exist outside of the experience of it. Red doesn't exist, colors don't exist, round doesn't exist, juicy is just a concept, and the apple doesn't even exist, right? It's the seeing that exists, that perception, and that's what creates it. We're going to get at this some more, right? So really, we're splitting reality into three ways. There's the unseen, metaphysical, and what we think is the objective reality. We think there's things outside of us in 3D that exist outside of us, and then the subjective, what we perceive, right? Things are not what they seem to be. I really want to hit this. This is going to be big today, guys. There's going to be a few concepts that you might go, oh, say that again. We'll get at this. So you believe you're seeing objective external, you're seeing an object, or an apple in this case, external to you. That's what you believe. That's what creates this idea of objective reality, but it's just like pleasure and pain. Hear this. The apple doesn't exist outside of your experience of it. Hear this. Like pleasure and pain cannot exist outside of the experience of having pleasure and pain. Neither can that apple. You're not seeing anything directly. Right? We believe we're seeing an objective, direct thing in physical reality, that represents something. But how can it? We're seeing things differently all the time. Think about when you see someone at a distance, they look smaller. Are they smaller? No, but that's the perception. Hear this. We're perceiving them as smaller, right? But then when they get up close, they're just the same height. It's that same idea. Nothing is as it seems, right? It's just all coming through our perception. So we're not seeing that person directly. That's just proof. If we were seeing reality directly, then that person would be the same height at a distance than they would be up close, right? Let's just unpack this a little bit more. I gave this as an example. And just to show you, this is one of those popular optical illusions. But really, it's just the idea of perception, right? Both of these purple circles are the same size. I promise you, I measured it with this, right? So you know the same size. But what happened here? The circle on the right looks bigger. You can see this. And this one looks smaller, but they are the same size. It's a perception issue. That's what's going on all day, every day with you, right? You're streaming 3D reality. That's just a perception issue, right? If the appearance of something is different than the thing itself, how can you be certain that the red, juicy, round apple is what you believe it to be? Right? Hear this. We're saying that the appearance of something is different than the thing itself. Right? The appearance is different. We're saying there actually must be a thing, right? And then the appearance of it. But what we're going to learn today, there is no thing that exists in objective reality. It's just the appearance, or it's just the perception. That's the only thing you ever see. This is big, right? The world does not equal what it appears to be. You're not seeing the world directly, right? Just like we showed this right here, and seeing someone at a distance, or even putting a pencil or a stick in water, right? And if you look at that at different angles, everyone's going to see something different. It looks broken, right? So you're not seeing the world directly like the perceptual illusion above, right? The illusion, right? You perceive something different than it actually is. That's what an illusion means, right? You're seeing something different than it actually is. But really, are we? Right? Is 3D reality an illusion, or is it just perception? That actually we're not seeing something different than it is, we're just perceiving it and making it up. There's nothing to compare it to. Right? There is no objective reality to compare it to. So it is not really an illusion. Are you following me here, guys? The magnitude of this. It's really the actual world versus your perception of it. You're thinking that there's some actual world beyond, and I'm not talking about pure consciousness. I'm talking about when you're thinking that there's some objective reality and then your perception of it, right? That's why you perceive something. That's what an illusion means. So we're debunking that right now. So let's hit this a little bit more. So what's really going on? You've got the 3D seen world, and you've got the metaphysical unseen world of pure positive consciousness or energy, right? That's consciousness, right? And we normally divide it here, right? But what's really happening? Well, we have a seen world that's our subjective experience of it, streamed through our consciousness, or the unseen consciousness, right? So we see it, but it's a subjective experience. We're only seeing what we're experiencing. It does not exist outside of us. But a lot of times we treat it and we walk around like there's some objective world, right? How it actually is, right? But how can that be? If there is an objective world, we can't see it. You can't see beyond your perceptions. You can't see beyond your experience of the 3D world. Do you hear this? So you're seeing something that's seen, and you're saying, well, okay, there's something true behind it, right? The big question is there a red, round, juicy apple when you're not experiencing it, when you're not looking at it? Does it exist? Does it exist apart from your experience of it? And the answer, as we'll learn today, is no. It's your perception of that apple does not exist apart from you experiencing it. There is no unseen objective. There's no apple behind that perception of that apple. Do you hear that, guys, right? Like the pencil in water, right? The pencil doesn't change, but only the appearance from the pencil itself. Do you see here when you put a pencil in water, it looks like it's broken. But the actual pencil or apple, that is the objective reality, is hidden, or we think it's hidden, right? Again, I'm saying there is no objective reality, right? There's only what you perceive from that consciousness. There's nothing else, right? And so so I want to debunk this idea of an objective reality, right? If there is an objective reality, it must be hidden from us, because we can only perceive what we perceive. So where is it? Why is it hidden? It's hidden because it doesn't exist. There is no objective reality. Let's hit this a little bit more. So I got it again. Here's reality, the world as it appears to you. That's your subjective reality. That's what you see. That's your experience of reality, right? That's what your experience. That's your perception. And then this is the world as it is, whether you're looking at it or not. But There is no world. So I'm just showing you this is what we think sometimes what reality is created like. But there is not. We're saying that's hidden. There's some objective reality. You can't see the objective reality because if you could, you would experience it. Right? So how could, if there was an objective reality, you would be experiencing it. Do you see that? So if you could see the objective reality, because if you could, you would experience it. So this is this idea that we think behind that apple, behind our perception of it, behind our experience of it, that there's actually a hard apple, or that there is a space, or there's a 3D world apart from us. It's not there, right? That's the premise, that the actual world is made up of atoms, subatomic particles, and energy. That's the premise, right? But you see the world as it appears to be with your senses. You see it through colors, sounds, touch, and smell sensations. That's your world, right? You don't see the atoms and the molecules. You don't see the energy under it. You only see you experience through your senses, right? That's your experience of the world. Nothing exists outside that experience, right? You see color. And then you label it as an object, like an apple, right? But really, what is color? Color is just the aspect of perceiving or seeing. They're not separate, right? Your senses, your visual, auditory, tactile, and olfactory, are equal to your experience of the world. That's it. Your senses are your world in the 3D reality, right? 3D reality. There's no hard or objective reality behind it. So let's unpack this a little more. You can never look at the other side beyond your senses to see if there really is something objective there. Why can't you? Because it doesn't exist. Right? It doesn't exist. Nothing exists beyond your perception of it. Hear this. Beyond you streaming that consciousness. You can never experience anything other than your own consciousness. Right? And I know it feels like that there's some objective experience. You can only have these perceptions, and then there's some other side, right? I feel trapped in my unwanted 3D reality. There's nothing out there. Remember, there's no objective reality, even though you feel that there's something on the other side of it, right? The metaphysical reality is within you, right? You are that metaphysical reality. You are consciousness. There's no separation. So we're not even going to make a separation there. There's just you perceiving the 3D world, your consciousness perceiving. Wow, the way things appear to us do not depend on the things themselves, but are shaped by our consciousness. Hear this. So the way you see things, whether it's furniture or cars or the stars in the galaxies or anything, they're just consciousness. They're the way that they don't depend on the things themselves. The mechanism or apparatus through which we experience the 3D world is that consciousness, right? Things appear the way they do because your consciousness or apparatus from experience them makes it so. It's your consciousness that shapes it all. That's really what I wanted to get at today, guys. This is big, right? Here's your juicy red apple, right? The apple as it appears to us, right? But none of it, the color, the round, the concept of round doesn't exist outside the experience of round. Just like pain doesn't exist outside the experience of pain, right? Juicy doesn't exist outside the experience of having juicy apple. The apple, or none of it, right? The apple exists outside of your experience of it. There's no objective reality of the apple as it is. There is no apple. That's really what I want to get at. There is no objective apple. It's all coming through your consciousness. There's not even color, right? Color, again, is a perception coming through your consciousness, right? And then we label it. Red or green and all of that. These are all just labels. None of those. There's no experience that's outside the experience. Right? I see an apple, right? I is the perceiver. The perceiver is outside the experience. Everything, that's your consciousness. That's the apparatus through which you see things, right? Seeing, or the act of perceiving, and the object itself, those are not separate. Those are not separate things that exist. That's only seeing. And seeing is your consciousness. Do you see that, guys? Red, round, juicy are just manifestations of the seeing and feeling, right? All are perceptions of consciousness. Let's unpack this a little bit more. There's no red, there's no round, there's no juicy, there's no apple. It's all consciousness, it's all being perceived. Isn't that's cool, right? Because remember, let's get back to that idea of an illusion. Illusion says that you're perceiving things incorrectly. Well, how could you? Because there is no real apple. In fact, apple is the perception. Apple is the experience. Do you see this? That's why even the label of illusion makes no sense, right? It's just perceptions. There's no out there. It's the matrix. But you're inside the matrix, but there's no outside of the matrix. There's just perception, right? There is no out there, right? The 3D world, the universe, and everything else really is within you. Big rabbit hole that we're going down today, right? But remember, it's all within you. We're not kidding when we say that, right? It is all with you. You even create the perceptions of space where you can see an apple can't be, things can't exist. Objects can't exist through perceptions unless you create the perception of a space that it extends in. Do you hear this? Not even space. Space doesn't exist outside of your perception of it, right? So even space doesn't exist. There's nowhere. There's nothing exists outside of you, right? There isn't, here's the apple again, there isn't an apple and a space it is appearing in. Do you hear this, right? But the apple is the space. Do you see this? As you perceive an apple, you're perceiving the space that it's in. Otherwise, how could you perceive an apple? You've got to perceive and extend the 3D dimensions around that apple. You create all of that. Space doesn't exist independent of the apple. Space only exists to the extent something is extended in it. Space is a part of your perception, right? There isn't seeing in the seen, there's only seeing. Only perception, right? Only the experience of the apple, only experience of seeing, right? There isn't perceiving in the perceived, there's only perceiving, right? There's no perceived, right? And you're not perceiving, there's only perceiving, right? Colors, sounds are not things that are experienced, but are the experiencing. So colors and sounds and all of that stuff, shapes, they're not things that you are experiencing, but they are the actual experiencing. They are the actual perception, right? Space isn't perceived, but it is the form in which the experience takes place. Hear this, right? So it's not something outside of you, something perceived separately. It's actually all your experience of 3D takes place in. You create it all. You create the space. Wow, this is big. So no part of experiencing color, touching, space, seeing, hearing, all of that, the experience in 3D, can exist apart from the experiencing. Just like pain and pleasure can't exist apart or independent of the experience of pain and pleasure. It makes no sense. This is the same. The way in which experience manifests cannot be independent of the experiencing. Wow, that's big. There is no objective reality. Nothing is out there. No space exists independent of you. You are pure consciousness. You are pure perceptions. That is reality to you, right? It really is only ultimate reality. That's all there is. Think about this. Everything else is just a perception through your consciousness. This is big. This is debunking everything. The truth of objective reality. Guys, there is no objective reality, and that's the truth. I am your host, Tom Karen, and this is the Be Something Wonderful studio of higher consciousness, where we help you level up and become the best version of yourself. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification button, like and share our videos. That's how we get our message out. Hit us up on Facebook at Be Something Wonderful, on Instagram and Twitter at Tom Karen, our website at tomkaren.com or besomethingwonderful.com, or write me anytime at info@besomethingwonderful.com. I always love to hear from you guys. Keep sharing our videos and the channel with your friends, your families, your colleagues, and others. That's how we grow. I'm grateful, blessed to have you here. Until next time, this is Tom with great love and great light. See you soon.